everyone, and welcome to City Council meeting. Would you please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Tonight, we gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our citizens. We ask this in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our November 7th council meeting. We'll go with roll call next.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Carson?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mrs. Ursel? Here.
Okay, all 7 council members are present and accounted for. That's always good news. I'd like to take a moment here before we move on with our agenda and turn it over to the police chief, because we have a new officer to swear in tonight.
Introduce it all? Yep. Sure.
We're fortunate to hire a new officer, David Spears. David, you want to come on up? David comes up with us from, has some experience at Gulf Manor as well as UC Hospital. Good hiring process. Aside from David's obvious physical prowess, his ability to talk to people, and that's what we're looking for in the interview process. Myself, Sergeant Fast, Sergeant Jones, and the city manager all agreed that he's going to be really good fit for the city of Mount Healthy and our police department. So we're lucky to get him. This is his second day, and we'll get him up and running as soon as we can.
Hey.
You want to face the audience? Yes. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear
Or affirm.
or affirm
That I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America,
and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and laws and ordinances
and laws and ordinances
of the City of Mount Healthy,
of the City of Mount Healthy,
and to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
will discharge the duties of this office.
to discharge the duties of this office.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mount Healthy.
Thank you.
Congratulations, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's get one more.
Looks like it.
This is my wife, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for sharing.
David's very excited to be working here.
Awesome.
We're happy to have him.
Congratulations. I want you to take a look at all these people up here at front, and specifically right here. You don't write tickets here. You know, I've tried that with other officers, it never works.
Don't listen to that. If we do it, we pay for it.
Yep.
All right,
Social treatment.
minutes, you have the minutes from the October 17th, 2023 council meeting before you. Does anybody have any corrections?
I do, Mr. President.
Yes,
Under Parks, it has my name instead of Keisha's.
Parks. You'll make me search for it, or tell me what page it's on?
Thought it's second page, under committee reports.
Oh,
It was last year.
you don't spell Keisha with a D?
She's talking about under Parks on.
Under Parks.
It's library, it says library, then underneath it says Parks, and it says Denise Lingo. You can stay, Denise, I don't mind.
Anything else, council? All right, then I'd like to ask for somebody to make a motion to adopt as corrected.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes as corrected.
Okay. Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt as corrected, seconded by Ms. Bristol. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Correspondence, I have no correspondence before me. You have some information from the Natural Gas Aggregation Program. You can get that when the time comes. Guests and special events, we have the Urban Tree Commission volunteers here tonight. Karen?
Karen Arnett from the Mount Healthy Urban Tree Commission and Karen Horsley. So we were really blessed this year to have a couple of young people, really dedicated young people, volunteering through the season, watering the trees we planted last year because they need that weekly. And so I wanted them to get some recognition along with their parents, who of course gave them really good support. So we have the Pitts family here. Do you want to come up? So Don Shea Jr. and his mom Tamika and dad Don Shea Sr. And I think that the mayor's going to recognize you, but I want to thank you personally, and just, you've been really a great help. You know, it's really, you guys, volunteers like you are what make our program work. So I'm super grateful.
Don Shea, would you explain what you did a little bit? I know, but I'd like them all to hear what you've been doing.
Well, I was just outside watering the trees, and a bunch of trees to water. Some of the kids kept ruining the trees, but I guess it's okay.
And this was on Elizabeth Street, right?
Yes.
That you were doing. Great. Well, thank you so much. So I have a letter for you and for the Danks that I will be bringing to you, but I just want to thank you. And I'll give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I want to thank, can I speak? Sorry.
Yes.
We are the Pitts, 7416 Elizabeth Street, and then we just want to thank you, Mrs. Karen, for the opportunity for Don Shea to do something for his community. We literally moved to the neighborhood, and it was like blessings coming towards Don Shea. So he's been doing a lot, not only for Mrs. Karen, but also the farm down on the other end, volunteering in the summer, and he was acknowledged for that with a shirt from the Titan Farm, and then also just helping out homes in the neighborhood, just house sitting and taking care of cats and taking care of their home while they're away. So, yep, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Take it up.
Thank
I
you.
want to
Thank you.
express-
Can I say one more thing too, that Davy Danks was also watering trees, and his mom, Sarah Danks, was helping. I thought they'd be here tonight, but they must be busy. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to your family. It's always wonderful to see a nice family move into town and volunteer, get involved, help make the community a better place to live. Thank you very much. It means a lot. Okay. Is that it, Aaron? Karen, is that it on your report? Yeah. All right, why don't you take care of that right now?
My name is Aaron Horsley, 7328 Maple Avenue. I just wanted to take a few minutes to give some more updates on the wetlands. First things first, we have scheduled our first honeysuckle removal at the Wetlands Park for Saturday, December 2nd. Scott, is there any way that I can forward you that flyer and send it to everybody in council?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. That'll be 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. This year, we are happy due to grant funds. We will be able to provide tools So nobody needs to bring tools unless you would like to. If anybody has chainsaws that they would like to bring, those would still be very helpful for removing some of the larger old-growth honeysuckle. We'll also be getting snacks and donuts donated by Little Dutch Bakery. I just want to give a big thanks to them. They have donated pastries for every one of our events and continue to do so. So it's always a big help, and the volunteers always seem to really appreciate it. So we are in the process of also making purchases for replacement plants over at the wetlands. We've been speaking with a specialist with Keystone Flora. He's got an entire property that's got different types of topography and different setups on his land to kind of demonstrate what plants thrive in what areas, and he kind of made some recommendations for us and what would be most suited for the wetlands. So we're going to be making decisions on that very soon and what we're going to be purchasing with grant funds as well. Excuse me. Through We Thrive Mount Healthy, we have been awarded a second grant. This is a big one. We are still in the planning phase for this as well, but we were awarded $7,000 to install solar panels and electrical on the gazebo that's at the Wetlands Park. So the hope is there that we'll have 4 plugs, so 2 on each side. That way people will be able to come and have access to power. And it's also a part of a more grand scheme that We Thrive is planning to involve the local community and the local school district for like poetry events and things of that nature. So we're pretty excited for that as well. Apologize, my phone keeps going to sleep. And then we were also awarded another $7,500 for information boards. So these are going to be a little bit more widespread. We're going to have 1 large and 2 small at the wetlands, and then a series of different signs throughout the city. So we'll have one at Fibonacci, Teakin Farm. We're also planning to put one at the city park. That we may need to speak with Justin a little bit more just for planning best place to put that as well. But those information boards are going to provide a plethora of information depending on where you're at. So if you're at the wetlands, it'll talk about the wetland park, the ecosystem there, how it functions, what it does for humanity as well as, you know, the natural environment. It'll also have the poetry that I aforementioned. So the plan is getting poetry from the local high school that different students have made up, and then every so often we rotate out different poetry. So every time that someone comes to the park, you know, they have something to read, and it also gives a chance for young high school writers to be able to get their voice heard, you know, and kind of get it out that way as well. Teakin Farm, I believe that they're also wanting to do that as well to kind of spread awareness about what they do there as well. So it's kind of a collaboration that we're working with them on that. So we're really excited. And then the last thing that I had a couple weeks ago, Girl Gang, which is a local group that was formed many years ago just by local women here in the community and throughout the Cincinnati area. Girl Gang is a group of women basically that they got together to try to learn skills that would not traditionally be taught to women, and they approached me and wanted to plant a memorial tree. One of their members had passed away a couple of years ago, and they wanted to do something special to remember her. So we made that happen as well and planted a maple in one of the areas that we'd recently cleared for honeysuckle. They'll be overseeing the watering of that tree. However, we'll also be kind of there as a backup resource. You know, if they have any questions or if the tree starts to go into decline or anything like that, we can be there to try to help them in that way as well. So, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Redding.
So, Aaron, I just wanted to check up on the herbicide that we used to kill the honeysuckle that we cut down. Has that been working?
It has. I mean, obviously, nothing is foolproof. So we have had spots here and there that have popped back up, but they're pretty hard to miss now because the whole area got cleared out. So every once in a while you see a little bush, but we're seeing about 80 to 90% effective rate.
Okay.
So that'll be pretty easy to just to go back in, make another cut, and reapply. In most cases, a second treatment is all that's needed.
Okay, I was just, because we had talked about that when we were cutting it out. And I know I was curious as to how well it was gonna work, so it sounds good.
Yeah, it's worked really well, and we've also made the decision to switch herbicides. So we're gonna be moving away from glyphosate and towards Tordon, which is a tree and bush killer. The reason why we made that decision is it comes pre-mixed, comes with a blue dye that is already mixed in with the formula, and then it also comes in a bottle that makes it safer to dispense.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Aaron? Well, Aaron, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Really appreciate what you're doing down at the Wetlands Park. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a great honor. I've noticed, especially over the summer, especially just from last year, there's been a huge uptick in people coming to the park and asking questions and wanting to know more about what we're doing. So it's really good to see that
Yes.
what we're doing is making a difference.
Because it was ignored for years.
Well, not any longer.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Okay, going to move on to public input. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to address council with? Yes.
Dawn Walters, 7340 Elizabeth Street. Couple things I'm here about is, it's time for speed bumps. We talked about it last time. Joe was going to be doing something about it. I want to know where we are.
So, we have not moved on it yet, so cut me some slack, Don. We've been busy with the police levy. That's finished up, so
I don't understand, I am going to interrupt you and say, I don't understand why you put a stop to it when everyone else said, let's go forward. You said
No,
you stopped it.
no, we just haven't had a chance to get to it. We've been busy with the police levy.
To get to what?
I'm sorry?
We haven't had a chance to get to what?
To the speed bumps. We have not had a meeting yet. Peggy and I have not set up a meeting yet, but we will do that.
A meeting to do what?
Just to discuss the speed bumps, where we need to put them.
Okay.
Because-
That's not what I understood last time. Okay.
Okay, so, and we were debating whether to do a committee meeting between between safety and streets, or just do a work session, if you recall that discussion. And also, in the meantime, we're also doing, putting out our speed strips to determine where else in the city we need them. And we have that information. And so instead of just doing one here, one there, and then having to come back, do more.
Right.
So, and we'll be working with Justin to kind of get it all laid out there, so.
They're really, the speeders, and there's more, and they're faster than ever. They get more brazen, and they're, one of them was speeding past a speed bump, a school bus, and my husband stopped him, which also brings me over to the police with this new bond that most likely will pass. I think most people agree that we need more police. I'm really interested in knowing what we're getting for our money.
Yeah, right now, we are actually down 2 officers, even with the hiring of the new officer.
Is that the one that's at the border? Excuse me.
I'm sorry?
Is the one from the border come back?
I might as well get to that, yeah. Ray Seehausen, who is specifically our
Oh.
traffic, Ray.
I know of him, yeah.
Yeah, Ray is coming back. Actually, he will be back on the 10th.
Okay.
He's been down at the Texas border for the last 6 months, and we are more than happy to get him back. Nobody loves traffic more than Ray. And, looking at our citations versus warnings, what we've been doing over the last few years, we're about the same as last year. And I'm all for traffic enforcement, even warnings and everything like that. I'm all for traffic enforcement. Not only does it affect the person that's speeding, but everybody else around there. It shows that we're a vigilant police department. We're out doing stuff, and our officers are out making traffic stops. to catch that one person at that time passing the
I
school
know,
bus,
of course.
it's hard. And like today, we had 2 officers on the road. And to be everywhere, even in a city the size of Mount Healthy, it's hard. And I'm not trying to make excuses, ma'am.
No,
And your point is certainly valid, but more focused traffic enforcement at certain times of the day, certainly with the speed surveys that we're getting back from Justin Public Works, it does allow us to target where we should be at certain points of times of the day. So,
Are you doing a study to know where you should be? Is that what you just said?
and
We've identified Adams. I mean, that's a
We
big
know
one.
that's 80 miles an hour.
Right. I mean, my personal opinion, I feel like Harrison as well, but that's what we'll have discussions, you know, so it's not just my opinion. But those are the ones that I've, with our traffic counter, noticed that there's pretty a high percentage.
On Elizabeth Street, you're gonna catch 60 miles to 70 miles an hour. That's,
We did a study. I'm trying to look real quick here. Got my little spreadsheet.
I'm afraid, scared to death he's gonna get shot by yelling at one of these people one day.
Let's
But
see,
they're starting to go past the school buses, and that's where I'm starting to get upset about, because my children are old, so they're not in the picture, but these are other people's children,
right.
and I don't want them hurt.
let's see, we placed it at 7834 Elizabeth. I don't recall where that is is that close to you?
I'm a 7340, I'm away from Compton.
Because, I mean, I fully
I mean,
recognize.
I'm on Madison, Elizabeth, so.
We had 3 that were over 75 mile an hour on Elizabeth.
Right.
So, I mean, it's more than one street, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't,
Right.
we're not seeing it, but we just have to, one of those speed humps is about 15 grand. The plan's to get one before the end of this year and probably get another one next year. And we have the ability to kind of move them around town if we find a hot spot. If it was good before and it becomes bad, we can move it to that spot.
Getting one speed bump?
A speed hump. A speed bump would probably be about $100. That's pretty low investment, but a
Wouldn't it be
speed
cheaper to
hump.
just pour some cement and speed bumps? It'd be so cheap. I would pour them for you. Not that hard. That's all I had to say, wanted to find out.
We do want to make sure we get it right.
I
So we
understand
don't want to jump into this and then do something and then have to redo it. So we do want to make sure we get it
Will this be
right.
done by end of the year? One of them will be down by the end of the year?
It-
We know Adams is it's probably a for sure thing. 80 miles an hour, they win.
Yeah.
So,
There's bad, I mean, I see that there's bad ones on Elizabeth. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
you
there's
know,
bad ones on-
It's just, we have to prioritize, obviously. I mean,
Pretty much anywhere where there's a long straightaway.
yeah.
So, but no, we're not ignoring it. That's
well, no,
definitely-
you had said something about you wanted to hesitate, you wanted to talk about it, do something neat
Yes,
about it.
yes.
And that's why I was asking
So
about it.
I'm all for trying to do it right the first time, so we're not
Yeah.
wasting people's time and
Yeah.
taxpayers' money.
Yeah,
So it may, you know, we want to get it right, we want to get all our information, and then proceed from there. But it's not something, I mean, it's something that's going to happen. Obviously, we're not going to do this in a month or 2 weeks, and I'll tell you a conversation I had with Aaron. Aaron and I have talked about this going back a year, and I haven't forgotten it. Nobody's forgotten it. It's just a matter of making sure we get it right and doing it right.
Don, I live on Maple on a dead end, and even on a dead end, that doesn't stop people.
they were telling us last time I was here, they're using those streets as, would y'all say, the short strips?
Summy.
We had it on Summit just recently. Someone complained, and that one, I didn't feel like it was that bad, but there were still some that were driving over 40 miles an hour, which, I mean, for a 25, is still fast,
Like
but.
a funny car type of situation. Someone explained it to me. I don't know why people want to do that.
The point is it's a really big
It's
problem.
everywhere. It is a big problem. That's why it just needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And I think everyone has all their facts and the ducks in a row, and that's why I'm just scratching my head. I don't understand the hesitation. It's not a matter of getting it right. We've got the facts.
We're not, honestly, we're not hesitating, we're not delaying, not intentionally anyway, so we're just knocking one thing out at a time, so.
All right, thank you, Don. Is there anybody else here who would like to address City Council? Okay, we're going to move on then to the mayor's report. Mr. Wolf.
Okay, just a couple things. I mentioned it at the last meeting, I believe, or 2 meetings ago, about the grant application that we applied for through We Thrive, and we did just find out that we were awarded that. We got that on Friday. So $35,000 now is going to the Poetry Out Loud program run by the Zone and the Mount Healthy Alliance. If you were a member, we brought some students up about 2 years ago, I guess. Mount Healthy, when they first when they first started their poetry program, they actually had a kid win the state championship in it, and it's been very successful. So they look to expand it. The high school asked that this program get expanded from kind of a small club to the entire junior, senior high school, and they wanted to offer it in 2 10-week sessions, and then also expand it to the community into a summer program. Part of that involves poetry. It's working with Aaron at the wetlands, but the cost would be about 35 grand. So we did get awarded for that. It'll be between We Thrive, the Alliance, Poetry Out Loud, the Zone, and schools, and even Teakin Farm is collaborating on it. There's a lot of collaboration here. What this will entail is not only the 2 10-week programs, so 20 weeks of this with different groups of kids. Each of them will have a field trip paid for down to the Freedom Center. And then what I really like about this is they're taking the metro down there and then taking it back and getting off on stops along Hamilton Avenue, stops along the Underground Railroad, and then ending in Mount Healthy so they can see that path and make the connection to the community, which is amazing. So they're doing 2 of those trips. It'll pay for the summer program as well, and then it will pay for competitions they're going to have at the end of the year to qualify to go to state, and they've already committed to holding those at local businesses. So they'll unveil which businesses those will be in the future, but Square Mile was the first one on board with them. They've held some open mics there for a while, and they will continue, but it will also go to other businesses. So it's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool for them. They did all the work in applying for this grant. I just had to sign off on it and send it into Hamilton County, and they approved it. So there should be a lot of advertisement for that coming out. Just want to make sure you know what it is, and it's pretty exciting. Other than that, I just ask you to pass, either pass tonight or at the next meeting, the resolution to appropriate the money to the Community Improvement Corporation. Actually, I'd hope tonight, because I know they do want to get on purchasing that property. So I do ask you to seriously consider that tonight. Other than that, I hope the police levy passes tonight. I'm pretty confident that it will. And I want to thank Joe for getting those hangers so we can pass out. I know you passed a lot out, and Joe was there all day today, which is awesome. So thank you for doing that.
That goes to everybody. I had the easy job, just work with Scott. Scott sent them to the printer. We got the posters taken care of. The most dangerous part of my job was putting them on the entrances and exits at Cross County. So, but otherwise, everybody on council had a part to do with it. So thank you very much. And again, hopefully it does get passed. And I usually use hopefully very little because normally I like to plan everything. So we'll see how it goes. If not this time, then we'll have a better plan for next time.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very exciting news about the $35,000 grant.
We've been lucky with our grant applications recently. I know we helped fund a lot of the wetlands. We were able to help out Pastor Whaley's Ministries, yep. Love and Action, right? Yep. And now this. So it's been a lot of good funding coming through We Thrive lately.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions for the mayor? Okay, is that it, sir?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move along to the city manager's report. Mr. Scott Bauer.
Let's see, fire department, negotiations continue. Hope that would have made more progress by now, but it's a new contract, so it's, with police, you kind of have just a handful of items that you discuss at a time, whereas the fire, it's a brand new contract, so it's just taking a little longer, but I would anticipate definitely by the end of the year that we would have something in place. Police department, excited for the new officer that you met. I won't steal any of Chief's thunder, let him go on about the other fun stuff going on. County block grant, the application to apply has been released. working with Tom with 3C and going through it myself. We'll put together some projects to apply for. Budget, I'll have the first draft out of expenses at least tomorrow, so that we can at least have some review time before the meeting we have on the 18th. Let's see. I want to do a shout out to the American Legion. They actually donated $1,000 to the concert series in Ray's honor, so that's pretty exciting. We'll make sure we get some of their signage up next year, and it's really positive, encouraging thing that they did there. Wanted to talk about the library. So they've kind of put it out there. I don't know how much people know formally, but so they are purchasing the old CVS. I talked to them. I guess it used to be a gas station, so there's some old tanks buried there that, they're doing the due diligence process. None of that's going to keep it from happening, but obviously they were scared. Just, again, they've got to do their due diligence. They've talked with me a little bit. We'll have to do some permitting. We'll make sure we get all that fast-tracked. I know we'll have to talk to them about parking. I don't think it'll be an issue. I mean, between council and mayor's court, that's really the only time I feel like that it could potentially fill up. Otherwise, I don't foresee any issues, but there may be some kind of contracts we have to sign just to make sure that we formally, share the parking lot with them, but can't foresee any issues. They want to do some public outreach in council chambers. Only know it's going to be early December, so we're kind of working out scheduling to get them here. Not sure exactly what that'll look like, but they'll kind of discuss the project and the scope of it. But they're, at least at the moment, what they told me was $3 to $4 million that they're going to put into that building. So, I mean, pretty big investment, super exciting. A lot of services that they offer besides just reading books, so it's pretty cool for the community. So I know they've been thinking long and hard about what they could do to upgrade, and this is it's going to be a good thing, I think. That's all that I have.
Thank you. That is very exciting news about the library. Yes, now we have another building to fill up though once they move, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Okay, departmental report. Police Chief, Mr. Jerry Deidesheimer.
Yes, sir. We talked about the employees, obviously Officer Spears and Officer Seahausen coming back to us. We should be looking at a process of doing an officer in charge position, which is not a promotion, but it is where we can actually have somebody in a supervisory role when a sergeant's not on duty. I think it's necessary. That way we have some type of chain of command on critical incidents. So we've asked for a semi-process on that for interested parties, and I'm really looking forward to moving towards a full detective position, which has been vacant for the last probably close to 8 or 9 months. Cases are still being investigated by officers. Sergeant Jones, even though he's kind of wearing 2 hats, he's still running a shift as well as doing investigations, as well as Sergeant Fath. So cases are being investigated and being solved, but it'd be nice to have a full-time detective dedicated to those Part 1 crimes. Speaking of Part 1 crimes, things are relatively calm in the city. It seems like those are trending down to a little bit. We are getting a lot of quality of life calls, which means, the loud noise, the traffic complaints, the parking complaints. That means, people, those are the things I want to get, and those are the important things that we need to deal with. It's like situation with the speeding, with the parking, with the loud noise, the juvenile complaints, things like that. Our officers are responding to that. We are in cooperation with the other agencies, Springfield Township and North College Hill. The biggest thing we had last month was the situation over at the school where the fake threat was called in. We learned a lot from the first thing that happened last year regarding the threat and that came in. And I think our response to this was a lot better. Not saying that our response was bad before, but we learned a lot. And we did an after-action report with the schools, as well as we got input from Hamilton County Dispatch. They said this was more organized. And from the time the call came in till the time everything was done, it was about 2 hours to evacuate the school, do reunifications and everything like that. So we learned a lot, learned some different protocols, but we had a good meeting with the schools, and I think they were happy with our response. And we really emphasized that should these things happen, we need to establish some type of incident command, and the first person on the scene needs to do that, as well as the other agencies. So we learned a lot of lessons, but I think we went as well as possible. I met with myself and Sergeant Fatt, met with the property managers at Clovernook. and Clovernook seems to be heading in the right direction. They have instituted a new leasing agreement for their tenants and for the people there, which kind of puts some teeth into the leasing agreement. So people that are not following the rules, it's easier for them to take action, whether you even move towards evictions if necessary. And they have moved towards evictions on several people that, needed it. They also are putting more money into Clovernook regarding new lighting and also fixing cameras and making sure there was an incident. We had documented where some of the dumpsters were being overflowing. They took care of that because there was a change in ownership and the bills didn't get paid correctly, but they assured us that's being taken care of. So it was a good meeting, and I think things are on. Clovernook is definitely a process, and it's something that we'll continue to monitor. Let's see. We did start there's work started today on the building security, changing over from the key lock and the key punch to a key fob system here in the city building. We were able to, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, we're taking some DOJ money that we had that was in the police fund that was sitting there for a while, and it can be used towards building security and towards police, and this is certainly something that needs to be done, making sure this building is secure. So the work is being done on that, and hopefully they can complete this by the end of the year. So no longer are we punching in or locking doors, we're actually using key fobs and everything like that for this city building to make it more secure.
Nice.
And last but not least, one of the big things when I came here was establishing a formal chaplaincy program, and I think there was a chaplaincy program with Pastor Washington, and Pastor Washington has been nothing but great helping us out. But I was amazingly pleased to add Pastor Washington to our chaplaincy. I'm sorry, to Pastor Whaley to our chaplains. Now we have 2 chaplains. The role of chaplain is really a couple things. He can come and minister to the officers and come in and talk to us. But on this critical calls, when we don't have the words, whether it's a death notification, whether it's, a critical situation, maybe a high-level domestic, where, somebody that has the words that a police officer doesn't can come out, and that's what we call these guys out for. And I mean, not to make a joke, but they're a godsend on these type of situations because they can really help us out on those situations. So I'd ask Pastor Willie to come by tonight and kind of introduce himself and
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're grateful to be here. I'm at 1585 Compton Road as the Pastor Whaley at Emmanuel Temple Lighthouse Ministries, but I also live at 7511 Perry Street. We also have Love in Action, which we work with a multitude of different organizations throughout the city. Just underneath our window of being a server to serve this community, we are very excited about being able to extend our services to partner with the chief of the police department, hopefully the fire department, whomever else in those crisis times. I'm also a LISWS, so I'm independent licensed social worker. And so we'll be able to provide, even in those moments, trainings of de-escalations, things of that sort. We'll also be able to train grief counseling. So when people, just to let you all, everyone know, we end at 1585 Compton Road. As we talked about previously, as the mayor talked about grants, we were awarded a $75,000 grant through, We Thrive was definitely a partner of that, but for opening up our own mental health agency there. So in our community, we do have mental health to be able to help reduce transportation and all of the barriers for mental health. We take all major insurances and all of that. We do partner with the school as well. And there's a lot of other different things underneath Love in Action. If you go to our website, if there's any questions, but most important is that we're grateful to be able to be a resource with the chief of the police to provide some of our services.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you helping out.
lastly, since we're talking about money, we were able to recoup continuing professional training funds from 2022 that we thought we missed the deadline on, but we were able to recoup about $7,000 on that. And for 2023, we've already recouped $9,000, so a total of $16,000 of continuing professional training from the state of Ohio, and we're anticipating another $9,000 by the end of the year, so close to $25,000 in
Wow.
recouped funds for our continuing professional training.
Wow, that's wonderful, Chief. Thank you. Anybody have questions? Just Mr.
I
Reddy.
have a couple questions for the chief. You had mentioned the incident command control for issues at the high school. Are you saying that has the high school, like the principals, assistant principals and that, have they had that training, do we know, or?
Actually, there's
Okay.
a training coming up that you asked. There's a training coming up, I think next week at Hamilton County regarding the incident command type system when it comes to incidents at the school. The biggest thing is when we as police officers, and part of it's our fault, was we as police officers, we go there, we want to run in and we want to try to start dealing with the situation. But it's critical, if it's not an active shooter type situation, it's critical for that first officer to meet with somebody in charge and establish some type of incident command. That way, critical decisions can be made at that point in time. And you got to resist, and I'm telling my officers, you got to resist going in and just start clearing the building and start doing the investigation. You got to get with the superintendent or the principal of that school, as well as anybody else with members of the fire department or any other agencies. So you have everybody together, so you're making the right decisions and you're utilizing your resources in the best way possible. So the school's on board, and that was part of the after action.
Okay, so so are all of our police going to be trained in that, or are they already trained? I'm not aware.
Part of the continual professional training done through the state of Ohio is part of the incident command system.
Okay.
Be honest, sometimes we forget about that and we want to go in and we want to handle that situation immediately. But it's really important for that first responding officer. Should it not be an active situation, not an active shooter type situation, if it's one of these things, you need to pump the brakes and get with somebody else in charge so decisions are being made. So I've reemphasized that out of this thing, a lot of learning points came, and that was one of the things we talked about to our sergeants as well as the officers, saying, you need to slow down and make sure decisions are being made.
Yeah, that's something I think is important. I've been through it in my professional job at some of our power plants for Duke Energy, but I was just wanted to make sure all of our police officers are getting that training because it's critical.
Yep.
So, and then the other question concerned flock cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the cameras at Clovernook Apartments, or those are flock cameras,
Yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And those are up and running?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
And then a second follow-up question to that was, are flock cameras in the city? I know we have some on Hamilton Avenue. Are we in need of anywhere else? I guess a Compton Road or?
Yeah, we've talked about that. The good thing is Springfield Township, they were kind of late to the party on flock cameras. Now they're all in. So they have Springfield Townships, they're all around us. So they got north of Hamilton, they got all the way down Compton, as well as in North College Hill has them too, and other parts of Springfield Township. North College Hill has them. We have the two. Could we use more? Probably. But I'd like to make sure we're strategically putting these things and we're not duplicating if we don't have to spend the money.
Yep.
But everybody shares the cameras. We see with Springfield Township, North College Hill, we share cameras with agencies out in California. I mean, it's basically a big network sharing of this type of information. So flock camera system has been invaluable as far as solving crimes, holding people accountable, traffic crashes, hit and runs, things like that. And it's the first thing our officers go to. They can get it right away after a call for service. Say there's a hit skip, our officers are able to get on the flock camera system and get a description of the vehicle, and they can identify vehicles right away. So,
Great. So
we could look at possibly doing more, but I'd like to wait to see where Springfield Townships are putting all theirs.
Okay, and do you know, is North College Hill also involved? Okay.
Yeah, they are. They are.
So, and could you just take 1 minute and explain to folks that don't know just exactly how flock cameras work?
Flock cameras, so it's a private organization that we pay a subscription to, as well as agencies all across the United States. And they're mounted either on poles, telephone poles, things like that, where that has a power source to it. There's also ones that actually be solar powered. But they record the vehicle. Every time a vehicle goes through there, it's recorded. So it can actually record the make of the vehicle, the model of the vehicle if it's seen, the license plate, the color of the vehicle, the size, that type of thing. So if I'm querying a car, say a white Nissan Altima, approximately year 2000, I can type that in to see if I get any hits, if I get even a partial, if I have a plate, even better. You can query that in and say, yeah, this flock camera, this car passed Hamilton and Compton, this part, Hamilton and Galbraith, his car passed, you know, all the way down to Hamilton and North Bend. So you can see where these cars go to. And you can also use to alert other agencies saying, hey, this car is traveling, you know, south on Hamilton Avenue. They're used for investigative purposes where you can actually put vehicles at the scene of a crime, and they're all time-stamped. It's an amazing thing. I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of Big Brother-ish when it first came out.
Yep.
But, I know Coleraine doesn't have them, but pretty much everybody else around here in Hamilton County has them. I know Butler County has them, Warren County. I'm not sure the city of Cincinnati, they have a different license plate or reader system, but Flock is kind of the way things are going right now.
Yeah, they're, in my opinion, they're a great tool, and we have used them to solve some crimes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll just add for the cameras, because it's not even necessarily the flock cameras that we had issues with Clovernook. It was their actual, just their normal camera system. I know when Sergeant Nolte was here, you know, they'd have an incident and they'd want to look at the cameras and they'd look at that particular time frame that the person was there, and the camera would have just gone out or something like that, and there would be no recorded, nothing would have been recorded, or it would just be such poor quality, or, you know, maybe a tree branch had hit it and it'd be angled in the wrong direction. So that's what Clovernook, Pearl, the owners are investing in, is upgrading the cameras, fixing the ones that have been out. That's been an issue for the past couple of years.
So in addition to Flock, they have additional security cameras?
Correct,
Okay,
correct,
okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
Flock is vehicle.
So that's, yeah, and I think the meeting that we had 5 years ago that I've got emails from Bill Coker, their camera system was on the list of issues back then. So it at least seems that they are finally investing the money to upgrade the cameras and fix them, because that's obviously a huge tool as well.
Yeah, I remember that being, that's what perked my interest.
Yes.
So.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for the chief? Okay, we're going to move on then. Thank you, chief. Ordinances and resolutions. First one is a second reading of an ordinance, ordinance number 23-2024. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of Mount Healthy and Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, representing a bargaining unit of city employees in a classification of full-time police officer.
So this one of
the first reading on that, we're now looking at the second reading.
So for this one and the next one regarding the sergeants, I mean, your best way to understand it is the summary that was provided. That kind of outlines all the changes, each article that was actually changed. A lot of it was administrative, like the new moving to 12-hour shifts. There's just things you have to update in the contract to recognize that change in scheduling. But the big one was obviously compensation. That 8% increase coming next year. No, it seems like a big increase, but just with all the cost of living increases that have happened, inflation, you know, it seems appropriate. Most other departments have the exact same thing, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. Different departments will take the increase in different increments. Some might do a 5.55. Our police department's chosen an 8.33. Feels in line with me with what other departments are doing. That's going to be the biggest increase.
Okay.
Any questions on any other changes?
Questions? We're looking at the second reading tonight. See if you have questions.
The officers have approved the contracts themselves?
Yep.
Thank you.
My impression is they are very happy with it. I mean, an 8% increase is good. The other big change was we removed the lower tier rate. There's the A and the B group. The B group for more current employees. So brings them all up to what I would say is a more market rate. So I think they are all happy for it.
Well, if there's no question, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 23-2024.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Lingo has made a motion to adopt. Mr. Redding seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance number 23-2024 is approved. Next one is ordinance number 23-2025. Once again, we had the first reading on the 17th of October. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of Mount Healthy and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, representing a bargaining unit of city employees in the classification of sergeant.
Pretty much all the same changes as patrol. So. They have also voted for it as well.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 23-2025.
Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Dosa has seconded. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance number 23-2025 is adopted. Now we have a second reading of some resolutions. Resolution number 23-1214, a resolution adopting the Hamilton County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Again, this one, the actual plan's about 1,000 pages. It's on their website if you actually want to read it, but basically just makes it easier for us to get funds if there's like an Ike or something like that, a Hurricane Ike again. Access to grants, other resources.
Questions, council?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 23-1214.
Okay, Mr. George has made a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Redding has seconded. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, resolution 23-1214 is adopted. Now we have some first readings on ordinances. Ordinance number 23-2026. An ordinance assessing cost of the vacant foreclosed property registration fee and declaring an emergency.
So this property is both vacant and foreclosed, and if that is the case, our code requires you to notify us, put you on a list. I think it's mostly just out of safety, just so we are fully aware of the situation on that property. They did not do that, so this is just assessing that fee onto the property and also formally putting it on our list.
Okay, you've made this an emergency for getting the timeline passed. Do you need it passed tonight?
Correct.
Okay. Questions, council? Motion to suspend?
Make a motion. Go ahead, Bob.
Mr. Redding has made a motion to
the
suspend.
two-reading rule.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Redding second, and Mr. Parsons made the motion. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, the two-reading rule has been suspended. Is there any more questions? Any questions on this ordinance?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2026.
Okay, Mr. Young has made a motion to adopt. Ms. Rissel seconded. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance number 23-2026 is approved. Another ordinance, number 23-2027. An ordinance assessing cost of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency.
See, all these properties are pretty typical, just we went out for, I think that rate of $244, it's probably two guys going out for a half hour to cut the grass. There's one big one for $855. I believe it was like piles of brush or something, that it was more than just a grass cutting. There was some pretty substantial things that our guys had to clean up, so.
Okay. Any questions? You want this passed tonight?
Yes, please.
Pretty standard, right? So I make a motion to dispense with the two reading rules for ordinance 23-2027.
Okay, Mr. Redding has made a motion to suspend.
I'll second.
Who said that? Mr. Young? Seconded? Sorry about that, I couldn't tell.
You're good.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, the two reading rules been suspended. Questions or comments?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-2027.
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Mr. George? Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance number 23-2027 is approved. Ordinance number 23-2028. An ordinance assessing cost of the securing of a vacant property and declaring an emergency.
So so this is, we've identified it as being vacant, so just making sure that all the doors and windows are properly secured, just so people can't wander in and destroy things or
Yeah,
become
board up
squatters.
windows and stuff.
Mhm. And then we charge back those materials to the property.
Any questions or comments on this? We had some properties down there that we had to tear down, they were so blank. Two apartment buildings, way down on the north end,
On Lincoln?
yeah.
I have never seen it.
Yeah, that's near there. It's around the corner on Lincoln.
I do remember those, Ross, yes. Yep. That was a while ago. Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. Around the bend at Hastings, is that what you're talking about?
Those might have been on Hastings.
Could be. Okay, questions or comments, council?
So Scott, this, I guess, what are our options with this in the future? I'm trying to remember,
If they're vacant,
yeah,
I don't know. What do you mean? You
well,
mean it's-
say this, so say this
Getting it
one turns
sold
out to
and-
be like the other property that is foreclosed on.
Yep.
So I'm sure the bank's gonna be involved, probably buy it out of foreclosure. I don't know if there's tax liens. I was just wondering if these are worth the city dealing with the banks to get these back up to snuff. And
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it can take a long, can be a very long
Yes.
process. I'm trying to think of what the other, what's the one that was on the corner that had been hit multiple times? Is it Hill in
Adams and Seward, was it? I think we did that one.
Hastings and Harrison? Is that maybe that one? I'm trying to think.
I know there's
Yeah,
been a
Hastings
few-
and Harrison, there's one that had been hit multiple times that I thought was gonna become foreclosed, and we were eventually gonna knock it down, because it took so long to get anyone to respond to it. But the bank has finally come back and said they're gonna invest in the property and get it resold, so.
The one
I
at
mean, that-
Hastings and Harrison?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is something that Bill Knight works on to get the banks to reply and say, okay, what is your plan for this property? And, if they take too long, I mean, we try to threaten that we'll demo it, I mean, we wouldn't do it without the proper process, but just try to get them to respond, say, hey, what are you gonna do with this property? So, I mean, it will go through that process.
Okay.
It can unfortunately take months, depending on where the bank prioritizes the property, so.
But we've had some in the past, and we've kind of went in different directions. I think the one in Seward and Adams at the corner there, the southeast corner, think that went through, actually
port.
went through the port.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And then there was one over on Adams Road by Harrison that we took another direction in. So I think both of them worked out okay, so I was just wondering if, looking ahead, that would be an option for us, for these two.
Yeah, I mean, the one at Seward and Adams, I mean, that's sort of the one you want to hold up, that it was sort of kind of the ideal where we were able to,
Yeah.
beautify it and just, I mean, a complete 180 on what the property was, but, yeah, just a long process.
Yep. So, okay.
You would like this passed tonight?
Yes, please.
Any other questions, council?
Make a motion to suspend the two reading rule
Okay, Mr. Redding has made a
on
motion to
ordinance
suspend.
232028.
Okay. Ms. Dosa seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, the two reading rules been suspended. Any other questions, comments about this ordinance? Then I would ask for a motion to adopt.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to
To
adopt.
adopt ordinance number 232028.
Right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Young?
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance number 23-2028 is adopted. We're getting there, guys. Ordinance number 23-2029. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to perform all actions necessary to support continuation of a governmental natural gas aggregation program with opt-out provisions to Section 4929-26 Ohio Revised Code, directing the city manager to extend the supply agreement with Direct Energy Services, LLC, to continue a natural gas aggregation program, execute any contracts or documents as required, and declaring an emergency. Okay, don't make me repeat all that.
So we're at the end of our 4-year natural gas aggregation agreement. I sent out yesterday sort of a talking points that kind of high level goes through sort of what the state of the market is, the current rates, the recommendation from our consultants. Basically, we were paying 3.487 for the past 4 years. I don't know if they were historically low, but it was a very low rate. It made sense to lock in for 4 years. Rates are not that good now, unfortunately. Looking more at a 5.88. They're recommending a 24-month rate, or 24-month term. And the basic justifications that it's sort of like with what we had with the electric, where it's kind of an in-between term. Things could get better or worse, we're not sure, so we don't want to do a long term, but we may not want to do a short term. It's kind of up to council what you would prefer. The PowerPoint presentation had all the different, you can do 12, 24, 36, 48. It just kind of be council's preference, but they're definitely recommending direct energy. If you were to pass this, it would lock in direct energy and the 24-month term. So we can, if you want a different supplier, we can change all that, and if you want a different term, we can change that, but that is their recommendation. And kind of along with that, you can do a 24-month term, but then do 2 separate 12-month rates. I don't know if we had that option last time. I don't think we probably would have done it with just how low the rate was, but that is an option as well. I'd have to get the specific deadlines when you'd have to kind of lock in each 12-month, but that's an option if you would also like to do that. So, but again, they're recommending direct energy as the supplier, 24-month term, and then we have basically until March to lock it in. So passing this does not lock us into the rate as it is now. We can kind of wait and see how the winter goes. That can affect it. So we can kind of just lock, if we decide in February, we can decide to lock it in then, or we could lock it in now. It's kind of council's preference.
Did they advise on what the future gas market's going to look like? Did they give you any advisement on that?
let's see, in the talking points, what did they say?
Yeah, they said because of the war in Ukraine and us exporting, U.S. exporting natural gas, the supply is lower, and the storage is low.
Yeah, let me see. So I have, that's what the correspondence was. They just this morning gave me updated rates. Let's see, I think it's 596, so it has gone up a little bit from what they recommended, but doesn't mean it couldn't. If we have a lighter winter, we would expect it to go down. So I think they're suggesting to wait at least a couple months before we lock anything in.
Okay.
And really, their only advice was if we did the 12 months, how did they word it? Set the first 12 months. Give me a second to look here. Yeah, they said not to recommend, they did not recommend right now locking in the 24-month rate. That's really the only recommended was just,
Okay.
they still say 24 months.
I think the rates could change after the
Yeah.
presidential election next year.
Yeah, I mean, they still suggested the 24-month term, but still to kind of wait a few months to lock it in. They were open to the 12-month rates. Again, that would just be preference, where you think the market's going to go.
Yeah.
I think we should check each month going forward here for the next few months.
You feel good about the 24-month? I mean, that's,
Depends on the rate.
yeah.
If it stays above 5.5, no, 12 months. I can go out right now and get 4.69 for 24 months, but I'm gonna wait till the end of this 3.487 or whatever.
Yeah, all the other, the only supplier that was under $6 was IGS, and that was a 12-month rate. I mean, it seems like Direct Energy is, at least from the quotes that we got back, is the supplier that we would want, but.
Yeah, but every customer can go out on the internet, apples with apples, and
Yep.
find their own supplier and take whatever price they offer them. Now, sometimes there's fees, sometimes there's not. You want to be sure to get a fixed one instead of a variable one, but
Right.
there's all kinds of offers out there available.
So are you saying to even sit on the 24-month term? So potentially change that?
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah,
Well,
which we can do, we can do.
Anything over here, guys?
Where's watching?
Yeah, again, passing the way that it's written now, you would be saying Direct Energy and 24 months. So I mean,
5.95 or 5.96 as our rate.
it would not be the rate. I mean, if you passed it and then told me, yes, we want the rate as it is today, then yes. But all that the legislation would be saying is Direct Energy and 24-month term.
And you would be,
And then I could,
sign the contract when it's.
yeah, then I would pull the trigger at whatever date, and then that would lock
Yeah.
in the rate. So that we are not
There's-
locking in a rate today by this legislation.
and there's a lot that goes into this, so if you're looking just in our area, I mean, we're down to, believe it or not, three coal power plants operating currently on the Ohio River from here to Wheeling, West Virginia. One of them, I believe, is going to close. So now you're down to two. And then you got
What's that got to do with
some
natural gas?
natural gas. Hang on, natural gas is going to probably cover that shortfall generating electric, right? So, there's a lot of moving parts, but at the same time, Eastern Ohio gas and Pennsylvania gas is constrained because they can't get over the Appalachian Mountains yet because of the EPA, so I say wait a couple, yeah. I say wait, because if it's mild, that constrained gas is gonna play.
I say we actually table this,
Okay.
and, because
Well,
2 or 3 months from now, it may not be Direct Energy that has the best price. And 24
Yes,
months may
depending
not be
upon-
the best term.
yeah,
We just keep looking at the whole
Opinions
picture.
over on this side?
That sounds reasonable.
I have a question actually for Jim. So we ran into the issue with the electric and the solar issue. IEG or IEC is telling us that there's no comparable issue that could pop up with gas. Do you buy that?
I don't know
When does that contract expire? Yeah,
Yeah, we did a 2-year with electric.
but there's
Yep.
nothing, like geothermal wouldn't be a substitute for gas. Yeah, so there's
So-
not I just wanna make sure that
The,
we
the
don't
que-
fall into the same situation we ended up with electric.
Yeah, so the question on the electric side is it's very easy to backfeed the electric
Right.
into the system, and the natural gas side,
Yeah.
not so easy. So,
Unless you have a real big cattle farm.
yeah. So in other words, you can't push the gas back out of your house, so, back into the system, so.
Yeah.
You could make sure that there's no penalties for individuals, generating their own fuel somehow.
Yeah. We don't, yeah. I don't think anybody's burning methane in the city.
How do you feel over here about tabling it?
I think we
Yeah,
should.
I think we should.
Okay,
So I'll come
Over
with, there's the rate sheet in the PowerPoint presentation that has all the 12, 24, 36, 48. I'll come with that at the next council meeting. Is that, I mean, that's in 2 weeks. Is that?
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
expires the 18th, so if they do another one at that time, then we'll have it for our 21st meeting.
Well, all the rates, I believe, are 24-hour rates. So, I mean, you can even see in the presentation, they have rates on the 16th and rates on the 18th, and then we have rates that were just today. So when they fluctuate, it'll fluctuate every day what our quote is.
Okay.
But
On
I'll,
the day of the meeting, if you want to.
yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Either the day before, day of. Sounds good.
So it's like 24 cents a CCF, so. Yeah. Hope for real mild weather.
okay, so ordinance number 23-2029 is tabled. Okay, one last resolution. Resolution number 23-1215. Resolution for city to appropriate monies to Mount Healthy Community Improvement Corporation to promote economic development.
So this is all out of our executive session we had last meeting. That's what the 260s was derived from. That's the purchase price of the property. That includes just one more. The CIC met beforehand. We've already approved then giving the money. So this would be giving the money from the city to the CIC. The CIC has already approved giving the money to, it's listed as the CURC in here. It's a lot of acronyms, but it's Third Century. So it would just be on the city to approve the initial transfer of funds. And it was fully my intention to have a bond quote that I think that's ultimately how we're going to cover the 260. I do not have that. I'm having a meeting sometime this week with the bank to get that quote, so it'll be here for the next meeting to.
Not a real good time to get bonds, maybe notes.
Right. Yeah, it can either be the 1-year note that we used to do before, we were rolled it over every year, or I'll get quotes for multiple term lengths.
So what can we do with this tonight?
So we can still pass this.
You need it quickly.
Yes. We definitely have the funds to float it, if that's what happens, if we do not get the bond in time, but, yeah.
Okay,
The,
questions, council?
yeah, the actual purchase is gonna happen within the next couple weeks, hopefully, I think.
Yeah, the cutoff, I have the date, is December. So December 10th is the absolute last date for them to do it. They had 60 days of due diligence plus 45 days for financing. So it's a total of 105 days. But that's when we have to get all the paperwork done, transfer funds, et cetera, contracts filled out.
Questions, council? This is for that urban redevelopment of some buildings uptown. Questions? None? Then I would request a motion to suspend.
To suspend the two reading rule.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to suspend the two reading rule.
Second.
Mr. Redding is seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, the two reading rule's been suspended. Questions or comments, council?
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 23-1215.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mr. George has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, resolution number 23-1215 is approved. That was the last one, is that correct? We tabled one and passed the whole lot. Okay, that's the end of our resolutions and ordinances, so old business. Yes,
Mr. Bauer, we heard anything on a SAFER grant for the firefighters?
Let's see.
But we did not get it.
We didn't get the, I'm forgetting which one's called which. The one,
Payroll.
I can't, one of them we did not get. There was the fire truck, fire engine, and the payroll. I can't remember which one off the top of my
Fire,
head we did not get.
It's the fire, for the fire truck. We did not get that one.
Okay, so we're still waiting on the other one. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have not heard on the SAFER grant.
Correct, correct. Yeah, it's one of those, they're just gonna tell you at that moment where you land. You don't know anything beforehand, just kinda cross your fingers.
well, somebody in here needs to win the big lottery that keep floating by at 200-300 million.
We try around here. We play, but.
Any other old business?
Reminder of the Finance Committee meeting on the 21st, prior to our next council meeting at 6 o'clock, to go over the budget for 2024. And Mr. Bauer, you have that out this week?
Yep.
To Mr. Young, Mr. Redding, and myself, and the mayor and finance director.
I will.
Thank you.
Mr. Redding?
Sorry, forgot what I was gonna say under old.
I have those senior moments, too.
Sorry. I was writing down Bob's reminder for the meeting, and I
How about over
Forgot.
here, old business?
No, sir.
New business? Yes, Ms. Dosa.
I don't know if it constitutes news business, but I wanted to let everybody know that I am finalizing the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that is to be submitted next week. I can email it to all of you if you'd like to see it. We did get a quote for to have a new play structure in the park for ages 2 to 12 from Playground Equipment Services to aid in applying for that grant. And I can send that out so you can look at that too. I would love to hear any suggestions or questions or recommendations you would have. I have a copy of it in color if you'd like to see it. The grant, it was very tedious, but I think that we have a great opportunity to get it. If you would like to review it, I will email it to everybody. And if you have any questions or any commentary, please let me know. It's due on the 15th, so I would like to have that back if you can get it to me by the end of the week, so then I can make any changes or inclusions that you think might be necessary. And then the last thing is, what page? Sorry. It's all in here, and I'll let you look at it, but please give me any questions, commentary, anything that you think that needs to be included, any corrections that I may not have seen. I would greatly appreciate it. So our goal is to get this postmarked and sent to the ODNR it's supposed to be postmarked by the 15th. So
Okay.
let me know.
Next Wednesday.
15th of which month? November, okay. Well, I would like to thank you for all your time and effort that you're putting into that. It's spectacular.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
Some maybe even above and beyond, so thank you. Any other new business?
Go ahead.
Just to follow up to what Keisha's saying, so, yeah, I think probably from a financial perspective, we're gonna have to look at this and then get our ducks in a row on this as far as like using community development block grant money, how that impacts the grant that Keisha's applying for, or how that grant impacts CDBG money for this project. So I just want to make sure we don't miss anything there. So if there's anything I can do to help with it, let me know.
Did Morgan Whaley help you at all with that? I know she was.
We talked, but she did not have the opportunity to help me much with that, but she was looking into other opportunities, so there is other grants that I'll be applying for in December, so.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yep.
Other new business?
I just want to kind of add on, Pastor Whaley's gone now, but aside from the chaplaincy, he talked a little bit, but he's not talking enough about what his church is doing. They started coming to We Thrive right away, and they have teamed up with pretty much every community partner in town. They've become part of the Alliance, part of the food pantry. They now have a separate food program at Clover Nook Apartments itself. They went directly to the community to do it instead of having people come to them. When they met up with Healthcare Connection and heard that Healthcare Connection was looking at adding mental health services, and when the schools were looking to add it, they actually found out they were eligible for a grant that the other two weren't, so they jumped on it. So that was a collaboration with Healthcare Connection, which he talked a little bit about the mental health services. So Healthcare Connection is referring patients to them now, which is terrific. They've also collaborated with Teakin Farm on some of the youth programming. They've really jumped in fully into the community and are partnering with all these different nonprofits around town. So they've really spread wide and they work hard. I'm really amazed at what's been going on.
It's
from that
wonderful
church.
news, Mayor.
So I just want to give them credit.
Good.
That's a great pick for chaplaincy because
Yeah,
they're
he's incredible.
jumping fully in, and they live in town. You know, they moved into the house right next to the church, so I really give them credit.
Super. Any other new business? I have one item to bring up if nobody else does.
Okay, I'll wait. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think we're gonna talk about the same thing.
I was talking to a resident today who is struggling with her blood pressure readings. And she's been to Colerain Township. They've changed things. They used to have a kiosk maybe over, I'll use that word, over in Northgate Mall. They've closed that up. But anyway, she's looking for help to get blood pressure. And I think, well, why can't our fire department do that if you come up and ask? And, well, she has a problem with the readers, the monitors that are battery operated, that you would use on yourself. She wants it taken the old-fashioned way, you know, squeezing the bulb. And they don't do that. Apparently, they just use the newer gadgets. So I don't know, is there any way that we could ask the fire department to get a blood pressure cuff and provide that? It's a follow-on in under health. Could We Thrive donate a blood pressure cuff to the fire department? I don't know if this is even needed, okay? I'm bringing it up, not pushing for it, but just trying to satisfy a resident's needs. I don't know why she doesn't like the newer cuffs, but I have one at home, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't read that accurately to what the doctor's office read, so I don't.
I have one too, took it to my doctor, and he says, put it away, don't use it.
Well.
I spent like $45 on that thing.
Yeah, mine's even more than that.
Yeah.
It's just not accurate.
It's not.
But anyway, I don't know, is that something that you think the fire department would step up to
I
or
can
something?
talk to chief and see see what he says about it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at least do that.
So what I was thinking was maybe like 1 hour a week, Wednesday, I don't care when it is, with the understanding that, hey, if they get a call, they get a call, and
Right.
try next Wednesday or whatever whatever they want to plan, so.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it'd be great public outreach in general, just to try to set something up
Yeah.
like that, so yeah. Talk to
Yes,
Chief.
it would be.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Redding.
So, Paul, you might remember this conversation we had, but this coincides with the library about an electronic messaging board.
Yes.
So with the library potentially buying, acquiring CVS, I'm just wondering if we talk to them, by the timeframe, by the December timeframe, to see if that would work for, the city's getting it out there right in front of all the events and stuff like that, working with the library. So just kind of thought of that as we discussed the library earlier tonight. So again, happy to help. Don't know what direction you want to take that in, but as far as economic development or community outreach or whatever, I just know you and I had a couple of discussions about it, and I think it's kind of like almost perfect timing to get involved in that now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Keisha here and find out, see if I'm got a connection.
I don't think
with
they'll have
somebody there.
anything done
Something
before
connection with
Christmas.
library.
No, I'm not looking for that. I just want to
Oh,
make
okay.
sure we're,
I thought you wanted it for the Christmas.
no. I just want to make sure that
That would be a
I'd rather
wonderful
do
idea.
it before, be part of the plan as they're going forward, instead of trying to fit it on after everybody's in and the library's open and.
Yeah.
So,
Wasn't there funds from the Eagles for a sign, or was that something different?
They've
I don't
offered
recall.
for a sign,
I thought they did.
an LED
Oh, okay.
sign. Still looking for a place to put it, potentially.
Awesome, an electronic sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom Lamont mentioned that to me as well.
Yeah, it was either, I thought it'd be nice, like, in front of the CVS, but just with property lines and, the city manager has the ability to make exceptions to the zoning code, so I could just put it, if I really wanted to, I could just put it right on the sidewalk. That did not seem appropriate. But I was thinking it by Heritage Park, maybe above close to where the fountain is, something like
okay.
that. But still getting quotes and just, you gotta have electrical, and there's certain things that have to be in place for it to work, but.
Yes. So, yeah, and I'm fine with anywhere on Hamilton Avenue. I was
Yeah.
just thinking that, hey, with the library and
Right.
using it.
Yeah, I feel like
for
that's the center of town. I feel like that would be the ideal place to put
Yeah.
it, is right there. It just, again, with the property lines, it seemed a little wonky
Yeah.
to me.
And they might work with us to put it on their property, so.
Right.
Anything else, council? Any other new business?
Yeah, there you go.
The levy is winning in the early vote.
All right.
Super.
Thanks again, everybody, seriously.
I want to step in.
I could make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Dosa has seconded. I thought we were going to stay here.
I know.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, no, that's
Motion
wrong.
carried. Meeting is adjourned. Mr. Bauer.
Got a lot to sign.
Scott, need to change the clock.
Aaron, I want to talk to you.
I was getting tired.